What's up, folks? Thanks for joining me on another edition of the PR Bunker podcast. Today, I speak to Julie Sater, who works in a really cool space, and she talks a lot about the entertainment economy. So a lot of the things you're consuming as a consumer, TV shows, sports experiences, there are people like her behind the scenes, marketing them, drawing your attention, and how these experiences are influencing other products and services. It's a really cool space, an area where I do not play, considering most of my work has been in corporate public relations and crisis communications, nonprofit stuff. So she comes from a world where I don't, but she's cool as shit, knows her stuff, has a really long history in this space, is doing incredible work, touching some incredible brands, working a really talented team where she's at. I definitely, tune in, listen to what she's got to say, take advice on how to build your experience in this particular space if it's a place you want to go into. But she really knows her stuff. We had a great conversation, so I hope you enjoyed. Thanks for listening in and joining the PR Bunker podcast. Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining me on the PR Bunker podcast. Stoked for the conversation today. Really stoked about it. This very talented young lady you see on my screen does not come from my world other than comms. And so we are polar opposites when it comes to the PR comm strategy. But as parents and people on the grind in the bunker doing our thing, we are cut from the same cloth. Julie, thank you for joining me today.
Thank you so much for having me, Don.
No problem. You and I first met through a mutual connection of mine and talked about our kids, life, sports, your work with famous people, not so famous people, shows that my wife and kids watch that I can't stand, but there's a reason why they watch it, because you're the one creating the little fish hooks to suck people into these experiences. And we're going to kind of land on the education economy conversation before we get there, but want to understand, tell my audience, how'd you get to where you are? Give us your story.
Yeah. So I think that one of the most interesting parts of my career path is that I'm from Atlantic City. So it's a little bit of sort of where you're from. Very strange, but very lucky, pun intended. Because I'm from Atlantic City, I grew up working in casinos during college and, had to get a real job to pay for school. And so in the summertime, when I was home from school, worked in a casino, started working in casino entertainment. One thing led to another. I found, maybe there's a career in this, and quickly started working in promotions and with celebrities and talent, brought all of that experience back to college and put it on my resume. And really, it was a summer job. I was scooping ice cream one summer, and the following summer, I was working in casino entertainment. So it was very fortunate. I was able to really massage the work I had done to create a resume.
Love that. I mean, serving ice cream and working in casinos, kind of the same thing. I mean, you're giving out, promise and goodness. I mean, at least with the ice cream, you have an immediate result. Maybe not so much the casino. Love that.
I only work in vices, I should say.
I love that. So, tell me about your work. Clearly, you're just not, learning what you're doing. You've got an experience here that is something that when I heard about it, you and I had the conversation, I was like, man, that's just cool as shit. Tell me about the work. What do you do in the comm space?
Yeah. So, my background, because I started in entertainment, moved over into CPG world and traditional consumer press. I worked at Edelman for 9 years, worked on big brands, then moved back over into entertainment. I think I took little bits and pieces of all of that experience, the customer service, the passion points, the big brand strategy, and certainly the pop culture sensibility to create the place where I am now. That is, I'm at Civic Entertainment Group. I lead the PR practice. Everything that we work on in Civic really is part of, I would say, culture's biggest conversations. In particular, in my group, things that, you're watching, like you were saying, your kids are watching on TV, things that I work on, The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives and The Traitors and Love Island and, the NBA Finals. These are all things that, I have worked on with my team in the past 3 months alone.
Very cool. Very cool. Now, what's the minutia like in the trenches, the actual work? Because other than that annoying do thing from Love Island that I hear all the time with my kids, there is some addiction to it, if you will. People are just drawn into the experience. Like me as a sports guy, all about the Celtics, and all about the NBA and that experience and going to the Garden. So, there's not just the product that's being delivered, but there's the experience around it. Talk to us about the minutia, kind of in the trenches of the work that you do.
Yeah. So So, when we are marketing and publicizing a TV show, obviously we're hoping that it catches fire. That is the best case scenario. Love Island is probably that best case scenario where it's really caught fire. Every time you think that, it couldn't get bigger than last summer, it is bigger than ever. There was a variety story yesterday, and kudos to the folks at Peacock because their ratings are bigger than ever. Ariana Madix is hosting and is just absolutely fantastic. It's really caught something. And what's so interesting about, and you could say it's Love Island, or you could say it's actually a product or anything that really catches fire. It doesn't have to be a TV show, but you're appealing to different audiences. And I think that's so critical. So for instance, with the NBA finals, a lot of people had a lot of thoughts about all the different teams. It was a great 7-series, final, very, very exciting. But you really have to appeal to a lot of different audiences. You can't just appeal to the diehard Thunder fan, right? Because that's too small an audience. You have to appeal to the person like me who may not have a basketball team that you're, ride or die for, unlike other people in my household. Next. But, you, of course.
No way, boo, boo.
Of course.
Though I would love your top 3 or 4 players. If they were wearing green, I wouldn't have any beef with them, but that's just sports in general. But yeah, go ahead.
Totally. The people in my household say the same thing. But, you have to get to that casual fan, the person who loves basketball. It's the same thing with Love Island, for instance. There are professional athletes who we are monitoring, talking about Love Island week over week. And, you can find them if you're going on their social.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
It's not the folks that you would think, these are guys in the NBA, guys in the NFL, and they're watching alone. They're watching with their families. They're watching with their wives. It is wild. You have to catch fire that way and find the thing that gets people excited. I think a lot of that is, they're drafting off of Love Island was a show that was in the UK. So some people knew it from there. And then they combined, very brilliantly Ariana Madix with that, who has her own fandom from starring in Chicago on Broadway, and from Vanderpump and so on. So really smart.
I love that. I love your term drafting too, because I think in our business, you're always stitching something else. And, TV was sort of a one to just a box relationship where now it's created this 360. Like I at a family event this past weekend, and like 3 or 4 times I heard the term Love Island or NBA Finals. Like people, and it's an experience that people take off, either being in person or the device, and they talk about it on socials, and it just echoes. So as a marketer, you're not just thinking about marketing the actual product that you're watching in real time, but there's all these other like tentacles around the product that also give you marketing opportunities to do what? To get more people, to kind of grow those audiences. So it's an amazing kind of octopus that you work in. And for me, it's not my world. I just find it so fascinating where it's just you're there to create something that's unique and of an experience that people engage with, but it goes beyond just the screen, which is incredible.
Yeah. And what I get most excited about, what we talk about a lot at Civic, is this notion of community. We call ourselves a community company. And how I see that through the lens of my work is this notion of fandom and the passion points that I was saying earlier, sometimes places. But, it's really, what are you passionate about and how do you relate that to audiences and tap into that? So
sure.
If I'm at Comic-Con, many people, and we've actually done a lot of research on this for various clients who don't identify as a Comic-Con person or don't identify as a sci-fi person. But okay, do you like Harry Potter? Oh yeah, well, I love Harry Potter. Okay, well, you might be a Comic-Con science fiction person. Do you like Marvel? Oh, I love Marvel. Do you like Lord of the Rings? That's my favorite. You might just be a Comic-Con type person. You just don't realize it. You have to use those examples for people to help them identify like the things that they love and to create community. And that, I think, in this age of loneliness and people working from home, and we're not in offices all the time, we're not, at least like we had been, we're not in community places. That's why concerts are selling out everywhere.
Yep.
That's why festivals are doing really well. And that's why I believe that shows like Love Island, like The Traders, shows the NBA Finals, sports, live sports are bigger than ever because people want community. They want to have the conversation about the Yankees on my Yankee station on my wall behind me and have fiction. People want that because that is community, even if it's
Yeah.
not completely synced.
Spot on. And when you and I first did a conversation, we talked about the impact that these experiences are having on the economy, not just the community. So do you have a particular phrase and thing to use? So I'd love to have you talked about like what that means and how is it implying to the experiences you're creating with your clients, but talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. So I'd like to say that we are living in an entertainment economy. And what I mean by that is I think people are expecting everything to be edutainment, infotainment, but entertainment at the end of the day. We've seen that in our podcasts. We've seen that in our presidential election. We've seen that in many more political races. We've seen it across many, many different areas. There is drama. I mean, think about like Caitlin Clark and the WNBA and
Huge.
the incredible
Like blowing up.
rise, blowing up.
Huge. I probably never watched women's basketball. No offense, it just wasn't a product I was interested in. But now with the media and the drama around it, it's like it's my version of Love Island. I'm like, yeah,
exactly.
Give me the drama.
That's what I mean. Yeah, you and 17 million other people, by the way, from last year. So,
wow.
So you're not alone.
Holy
you're in
smokes.
Good company. Yeah, but I think that's the entertainment economy. Everyone, they want a story. We want the telenovela. We want the story, and that is what is driving, I think, a lot of our economic choices. What is Travis Scott's McDonald's order? People want to know.
Do you have an answer to that? What is it?
McDonald's does have an answer to that. I don't know which meal it is, but that is a real example, which I thought was genius. But yeah, I think that this notion of entertainment economy, people want that, whether it's around a show, around their fashion brands, around their toothpaste. There are these Labubu dolls. I don't know if you've seen those. Pop Mart makes them. It is the biggest unboxing thing that is happening on TikTok.
Wow.
Go to my Instagram, see me unbox my Labubu. They are impossible to get. Vogue has written about them. It's wild. You put them as a little bag tag, basically.
Got it.
It's like a Beanie Baby.
Super cool.
But that is like entertainment, and that's just unboxing, and it's a $24 plushie that people are selling for like $1,000 online. I mean, it's
incredible.
Crazy. But it's the entertainment of opening it, of the ASMR, of hearing it, of the entire experience, and then sharing it and sharing that Labubu community with everyone else so that you're kind of part of it.
Makes sense. Love that.
Yeah.
So I'm going to pivot real quick. What do you love about the work?
Oh, what do I love about the work? I love the thrill of the chase. I love the thrill of the problem solving, getting a problem, putting a ratio on it, pretty impossible. Putting that brass ring up there and getting it. And then I cross it off and I'm like, okay, what's my next brass ring? And I love that. And it never is unincentivizing to me. I always am putting another goal for us to reach, for the team to reach.
Yeah.
And actively working on hitting it. I also love working with my team. They are fantastic and the best. And
shout out to the team. Love the plug to the team. You got to keep your people happy.
Shout out to the team. They are so fantastic and so smart, and they're good. They're really good people.
Love that. You need good people. Let me ask you this. This world in technology and entertainment and just information changes on a dime. What are the principles that are different from when you started to today and the principles that are the same from then to today?
Well, one, when I first started my career, my first real job that I thought I was rolling in the money for 20 grand a year, couldn't believe my luck, right?
It's like being a reporter. It's like, this is actually my paycheck? No, thanks.
I had no idea. I was like, this is the best. And my dad was like, I think we may need to help you for a little bit. I stood at a fax machine for probably about 3 hours a day and just fax things and with pitching in certain hours. What's changed is that now, people say, oh, don't do a press event on a Monday. I don't think that's true anymore at all. I think Mondays are great, especially in New York City when Broadway's dark and a lot of people are off of work and celebrities and talent. I just don't think those things apply. I think you can release news on a Friday morning. Interestingly, I think that it's just a 24-hour news cycle. So you can actually even pitch people, assuming it's not like big breaking news. You can actually reach out to journalists at different times a day. Texting pitches, I do all the time, especially if it's breaking news, because, if you have a good relationship with someone, it's like, hey, hot tip. this is happening. That's different.
Keep it brief. Keep it
Keep
brief.
it,
Here's the news.
especially on a text.
Yeah.
Exactly. And it
Yeah.
kind of forces you to. It gives you a discipline, right?
Yeah, it does. I mean, I don't want to go back to the fax days, but I did remember when the fax machines allowed you to batch fax to different numbers. That was like, it was like the creme de la creme. Now it's like I can use AI to develop a framework for a pitch, help me figure out what kind of media outlets I need to leverage, take all this intel into a tool, get it all programmed, do some sequencing, look at all the data, humanize it. But I think the brevity point is super critical because like reporters are just inundated. When I was a reporter, you get emails and phone calls, but these days my contacts are like, dude, I'm getting like bombarded every single day with information. But I'm looking for those people like you and others that like keep it brief and give me news and get the F out of the way, which is nice.
Right. Right. And then you have a reputation, hopefully, that when they see your name in their inbox, they're going to open it because they know you're going to keep it brief.
Agreed.
And it's important and something relevant. So
that's huge. Good stuff. I appreciate that. So, I mean, clearly you're experiencing really cool things that people talk about all the time. When the cameras are off, the lights are off, and Julie's just chilling at home with the kids, the fam, like, what are the things you do in your personal life that kind of feed some of that creative thinking? Like, tell me about Julie, the non-professional, just the mom chilling at home.
Yeah. So I think I'm uniquely wired to do this job and have this career. And I think, I always say to people, especially when I'm doing interviews for candidates, that this is my calling. This is not something I'm doing for a minute or a little while or a chapter. This is definitely my calling. This is right where I want to be. And I think it's because exactly what you just said, that I live my life pretty much in, obsessing about culture and American habits and purchase, power and, what's moving culture and why that is. And all of that is very, very interesting to me. I chase rock bands all over the world. I love music.
All right. Top 3 bands. Go.
Oh my God. Pearl Jam. 1, 2,
3. Perfect.
Yeah. But Springsteen. Love Springsteen.
Love it.
And I do love Foo Fighters and, give me some Stevie Nicks or Patti Smith.
There you go. Excellent. Now, here's another question for you. Obviously, we're getting almost at time here, but for those that are that are in college and don't know that there's a pathway for like they can take their passions of the show that their friends may think is stupid, but they absolutely love because they just love the entertainment and whatever that experience is, they might not know that there's a pathway to that. Now, what advice would you give them? Obviously you went from ice cream in a casino to doing this incredible work. That's clearly not the path, but you've probably etched this out in some way, shape, or form with everybody you've mentored, people that you've hired, and everybody's path is going to be different. But what are some of the commonalities in that path that you would suggest to those that are thinking about going into communications and PR and not just like selling stories, but in this kind of entertainment experience, kind of segment within the industry?
Yeah. I would say, you have to work on the non-glamorous stuff to get to the glamorous stuff. So it sounds really, really fun, right? And, all the things we work on as a team. And by the way, it is really fun. However, in the early part of my career, I worked on, toothpaste and tampons and toilet paper, literally all those categories. I worked on like very low interest brand categories, let's put it that way. And I learned so much that I learned how to get into the cultural conversation from working on the really hard stuff and figuring out how to write a story, how to create and manufacture a story that resonated with people, not just being handed a story and doing things in a formulaic way. So you have to start somewhere. And I would say, don't always expect it to be glam and be ready to do, the grunt stuff. And then maybe, you get someone's trust and then you can sort of work your way up to working on something that might be a little more zhuzhy and a little more in your lane.
Good advice. Sweat equity is always the way to go, right? And learn it and be willing to do the things other people won't be able to do. All right. So now where can people find you, find about the company, maybe interested in partnering? Tell us about your socials. Where can people find your goodness?
Yes, I would so love to have more friends. Reach out to me on LinkedIn, Julie Safer on LinkedIn, civic-us.com. Our Insta handle is We Are Civic. Reach out. Would love to have a chat.
Love it.
We do great work and we're a good time.
I appreciate that. One last question. What concerts do you have lined up for this year?
Oh my gosh. Well, I'm toying with going to see Springsteen in Munich in next week.
Toying.
I know.
Just do it,
I know.
girlfriend.
I'm
just
a
do
little
it.
crazy, but I just got off of 4 Pearl Jam shows from in May. That was fantastic. I'm actually seeing on a pier here in Manhattan. I'm seeing Bare Naked Ladies doing
Nice.
a revival, and I'm like, I hadn't seen them in so long, so I'm going. I'm really psyched. It's going to be outside. I'm sure it'll be beautiful.
Love it.
And then I'm seeing throwback. I'm seeing Men at Work in Toto. August
Wow.
1st in
Nice.
Atlantic City,
Very
which
cool.
I'm super stoked for that. Yeah.
Good stuff. Love all that. Love it. And I love the fact that all these older bands are coming back and finding their way into pop culture, and it's probably your fault in some way, shape, or form.
I hope so. I'll take the blame. Bring it.
Well, Julie, I thank you very much for joining us today. This will be not the last time that we talk. And I, thank you for getting my wife and kids addicted to Love Island and all that kind of experience, but good insights. Appreciate you sharing. And I'm looking forward to hearing more from your work in this space and having my audience learn from you. And I'm sure you'll get some folks to reach out, but appreciate you joining me today.
Thanks, Don. Thank you so much.
Thanks for tuning in to the PR Bunker podcast. As always, you can find us at prbunker.com. You can subscribe or at Spotify or hit our YouTube channel, PR Bunker. Appreciate you being here. Hopefully the knowledge that Julie spread on you today was helpful. If you're looking to get into the entertainment economy, specifically or public relations or marketing in that space, I highly suggest you reach out to her. But thanks to her for joining me today. And again, thank you all for listening in to the PR Bunker podcast. Catch you soon.